Technology group Gijima AST posted a full-year diluted headline loss per share of 21 cents. This from headline earnings per share of 16 cents a year ago. Joining us in studio now is the company's CEO, Jonas Bogoshi. Thanks so much, Jonas, for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Results for the full year ended June very much impacted by your dispute with the Department of Home Affairs and the Who Am I online contract. That certainly made it a difficult year for the company.
Absolutely. When we released our results during interim, we mentioned that we had to write off about 374 million rand. So what you see in this result is really the results of that. What's important for us is to look at the second half of the year compared to the first half of the year, because then that is more a normalized performance. And if you look at that, the business actually performed very well in the second half of the year. So if you look at the margins, EBITDA margins, second half of the year, we had about 9%. That's around the area where we want to target the business. So I'm quite comfortable that the business now, after we are online, is normalizing.
How much legwork have you had to do? Because you mentioned that that settlement came at a cost of around about 374 million rand, but you also incurred a loss in revenue, and that impacting, divisions like your professional services division, where your systems integration unit came under some pressure. So how has it affected and impacted the normal day-to-day working operations of your current business operation?
Well, if you look at Who Am I online last year, it was about 500 million rand, so about 16% of our business. So to lose that kind of revenue, yes, it had the impact, and most of it was in the professional services. So it did affect professional services, but also what it meant is that we were slightly inwardly focused to try and fix that. So I'm quite happy that we have gone ahead to fix it. If I look at the other part of the business, which is managed services in particular, that part of the business grew the revenue by 8% and profit by over 36%. So that part, because there was no Who Am I on it, it performed very well. I'm quite happy that we've got this behind us. I'm quite happy we have, and now we can move on. If I look at the kind of business we have won in the last 12 months, both in private sector and the public sector, we continue to win business, and I'm hopeful that the next results will indicate that.
How has this experience impacted where you look for business moving forward? Because yes, you've chose to end this relationship with the government amicably enough, and that's to sustain a relationship with government from here on out. But one would assume that an expensive lesson has been learned, where you've got such a reliance on one big client within your portfolio.
Absolutely, there's no question about it. I think this was a lesson to us. So some of the things that we learned was on how to contract with government. So we've changed the way we contract with government. We've put more stringent risk management methodologies within the company, so that we have done that. But as far as the business is concerned, we continue to win business in government. It is a large consumer of IT products and services, so we can't run away from that. Having said that, though, the contribution of public sector in terms of revenue has declined from 49% to 36%. So it's probably around the area that it will normalize over time as the private sector becomes probably much bigger than the public sector in Gijima.
So let's hone in on some of those other divisions then that have perhaps acted as a cushion to the business. I mean, we've had the managed services division retaining revenue growth of 8%. What have been the major drivers there? Because, it's margin improvement specifically going through your numbers that stand out.
Absolutely. If you look at managed services, in the main, most of them are commodity services, and for them to improve their operating profit by 36%, it was a good performance. So firstly, our unified communication business, where we do telephony services, networking services, that business performed exceptionally well. They more than doubled their profits, so they did well as a business, and that's why you see that those profits are increased. But also the largest part of our business, it's our desktop support, which is our distributed environment. That part of the business, I think we are getting handle on that. We are #1 in the country. I think we know how to do it, and the margins, instead of declining, that being a commodity, are actually improving. They improve their revenue and margins, and therefore profit. So those are the two contributors to that.
What role is Gijima's integrated services center playing in that regard? Because significant cash investment was dedicated that way, and is it paying off? Because that is something that's fully operational at this stage, right?
Oh, absolutely. What that service center does is to allow us to integrate all our services to the clients. More importantly, it allows us to provide services remotely. If you look look at that, firstly, we improve customer experience of services, but more importantly, to take out costs. If I compare a traditional way of providing service compared to ISC, you take out between 40 and 60% of the cost. And so far, we have been able to deploy that on about 20% of our business, and that we have been able to reduce cost by between 40 and 60%, as I said. And that's why you see the margins improving. We are now going to take it to the rest of the business, and I can see margins enhancing when we do that.
Let's take a look at some exciting opportunities, because you mentioned applications, environment and mobility. So how are you exploring that specifically, and are you having to leverage off partnerships to fully take advantage of that opportunity that applications, environment and mobility environment presents for you?
Absolutely. You will have remembered that sometimes during this year we mentioned that we are a partner of Apple. So what we are doing is not only are we selling Apple products, but also what we do is we now develop applications on tablets. Over the next coming few years, you will see more and more of tablets being shipped. As a matter of fact, by 2016, you'll have over 300 million tablets in the world, and most of those will be enterprises. So what we are doing is we are building capability to develop applications either for business intelligence or integrating applications into existing enterprise backend systems.
And you've got skill sets supportive of that industry and that dynamic moving forward.
Absolutely. We have just invested in that, and that's going to be our business going forward.
Well, Jonas, let's leave it there. Thanks so much for your time this afternoon. Of course, Jonas Bogoshi, CEO at Gijima.